live. I love it.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to, oh, and of course I did not look up what week it is. But that's because we were talking with our fabulous
20
guests so
something.
much already. It's week 20 something. It's week 20 something of our live events. So welcome to yet another Crazy Raider Chicks event. If you've been here before, you know who we are. But I am Nikki Rome. I've got Winter Brooks with me and Rebecca White as usual. And we have the ever fabulous Djuanna Brockington here with us today as our guest. So we're excited to talk to Djuanna a bit today, get to know more about her. As well. And if you saw our event, we're here. We also want to hear all about the Black Ink African American Book Festival that she, I believe, chaired last year, right? Did I get that right?
That is
Yeah,
correct.
she's the big wig for this festival here. So Djuanna,
I
thanks
am
so
the
much for
worker.
being here tonight.
Thank you.
Let's start. Let me let you just go ahead and kick us off. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what your passion is, all the things, anything that we need to know about you, and then we'll kind of jump into it.
So I'm one of these people that's like that multifaceted crap. And I wear like a bunch of hats. So just the quick and dirty, I work in a nonprofit by day. I teach nonprofit management to online students on the weekends and evenings. I consult, and sometimes, not very often in 2022, I actually write. But I'm also, what we're here to talk about tonight, the chair of the Black Ink Book Festival, which is a Charleston African American festival. Started in 2016, which every time I say that, I'm like, wow. But I joined them in 2018 and just was working with a community organization who was partnering and sponsoring. And the ED was like, look, I've got a lot on my plate. I know you're a writer. Can you sit in for me and take my place as the rep for this? And I was like, yeah. And the rest is history. So I chaired it solo last year and co-chaired it for the previous year. And looks like they like me enough that they want me to stay on for a little while longer. So
Great. You're like, yeah, sure, I'll fill in. And then you never got to leave. Like,
never
sucked right
left.
in.
Never left.
So tell us a little bit about the festival, though, because I know it's been going on for a while now. This year was virtual. Was last year virtual too?
Yes, 2021 was
Okay.
also virtual. So
But
we
otherwise,
started,
typically it's an in-person event for your group.
yes, we started 2016, like I said, and it was a small festival, one day only. At a local high school, and we had like three community partners. Avery Research Center with the College of Charleston was one of our founding partners. Charleston Friends of the Library, and then the Charleston County Public Library were those three entities like got together and created what we now call Black Ink. And it was a small little thing, and I think it was like, oh, this will be a great idea to bring readers and Black writers together. And the first year it was like, oh, that was cool. Let's do it again. And so the first year, I believe we had Marcus Amaker, who's a local poet laureate for the city of Charleston. The second year, we had Kwame Alexander, who's written YA books and children's books, but also native South Carolinian. And then it got real when we landed Terry McMillan as our keynote speaker for the third year. And that's I came on like right after that. And I just remember being like, ooh, this is a big deal. And
It's a big
that's
thing now.
yeah, like, wait, how did we do that? And then it was the next year, which I was fully on board by then, was Nikki Giovanni. And we were just like, well, Terry, Nikki, we are doing
Just
the
keep moving up in the world.
And that was 2019. And then 2020, COVID was like, well, what you gonna do now? And we were like, oh crap, what are we going to do? And so we typically had our festival in the fall, and we pushed it back to January. But our keynote was Kwame Mbalia. And if you have not, so his keynote address is on our YouTube page, Black Ink Charleston, or I think, yeah, Black Ink Charleston. You can find it. I'll send all the links.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's keynote was just amazing. Like, I was like, I want to be your friend, and I want to hang out with you and talk writing and all the things.
Like fangirling.
From the very beginning, from the moment I met him. He
Okay,
also
what
did,
does
like,
he write? I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
Okay. He writes the Tristan Strong series under the Rick Riordan. I always mess up his name. Sorry, Rick.
Riordan.
Disney Hyperion
Uh-huh.
imprint, and
Okay.
young black male, Black Boy Joy. He like was the person who, one of the persons that pulled together this collaboration of short stories for young black males. But it's about this young. It pulls in like West African gods and tales, and there's Brer Rabbit, there's Brer Fox, there's John Henry. Like, pulls in like U.S. Southern mythology and West African mythology, and just ties this young boy's like trauma experience to personal growth, and also that discovering your own magic. As you can see, I'm fangirling because 50 pages into reading that book, I called my brother and I was like, you have got to buy this book and read this with my nephew. And so,
Wow.
like, I was calling every black male that I knew who had a young kid, because I was like, y'all have to get on it. And he was such he did a family night virtual thing for us about 3 or 4 months before the festival, and we had maybe about 100 people, and just really got to talk with him, and we had a great time. I do believe that's also on our YouTube page, but it was the keynote address that he spoke to Black writers and writers in general, and he just killed it, man. And we were so excited. And our festival, so let me back up a little, and also, y'all, please stop me, because
No, just keep going. It's good. Keep going.
Nothing hypes me up more than talking about books and reading and writing. And
You're in good company.
Festival. And so he, crap, I forgot where I was going with this, but basically we had planned to have this thing in person. We were used to, we'd finally moved to the library, and then from the library moved to an even larger space. And then COVID, we were going to a large, the first time in this large space. And we were like, oh my God, what do we do? Because it was typically a one-day event. And we have this amazing program committee that's headed by Savannah Frierson, who is a local writer. She also works with the Avery Research Center here in Charleston. And she was like, well, if we're going virtual, let's give folks, we can build this out. And she helped us find a platform, and she built out, along with the committee, they built out this program. And then we started reaching out to folks. And we were like, oh, wait, this thing might work. And for 2021, we had over 300 attendees. And from an event that we were just like, let's just throw this platform on the wall. Let's see if it sticks. And it was like, wow. And we realized after January 2021 that we had something. But here's the other thing. So, and I'm going to get to Beverly, because that's really only what Nikki wants to know is, how do we get the esteemed Beverly Jenkins?
I'm slightly a romance junkie. So yeah, I want to know.
So after the success of 21, we were so excited and so hyped. And literally we had just hung up with Kwame, and the room got silent, because you know those moments where you've hit a pivot point. We knew in that moment, everyone in that room knew that we had just turned a corner, and there was no going back. and we popped a bottle and celebrated. And I said in that moment, y'all, we have to start thinking about next year. And everybody was like, we're exhausted. We're not doing that. And I was like, okay. And then like a week or two later, we started like emailing and calling each other, the key committee members. And we were like, what's coming next? And Bridgerton had just killed the game around the holidays. And so everyone, here's how I knew that show was hot, because not just were all my women friends watching it, my brother watched it, a couple of my men friends were watching it. An older Black male that I never expected was like, yeah, you seen that Bridgerton show? And I was like, sir, have you seen that Bridgerton show? And he was like, I loved it. And I was like, Savannah and I jumped on the phone and I was like, Savannah, so what about romance for 2022? And she was like, bet. And she threw out a couple names. And when she hit Beverly Jenkins, say less, sis. Say less. And Savannah is one of these people that knows people who knows people. And she also knows Miss Beverly and reached out, and she didn't even hesitate. She was like, yes. Wow. And at that time, we were still planning to meet in person. And she did say, this will all be dependent upon whether or not we'll be able to move about the cabin safely. And when we realized that we were still in this thing, we immediately did an audible and called for the festival to be virtual again, which again worked in our favor, because this year feels like 100 years ago, and it was just January. We had an amazing romance festival, but we also had, for the first time ever, editors taking pitches. And I'm talking Harlequin, St. Martin's Press, like that program committee, like we were like, we've got to level up. How do we do that? And they just started throwing ideas out there, and Savannah and the team reached out and people said yes. And we were like, oh shit. They said yes.
They're all saying yes.
They said yes. And it's the level of excitement and joy around this year's festival was just, again, another pivotal moment for us. And go ahead.
Do you think in the future that you will kind of hybridize it, have it online and in person?
That is our plan for 2023. Yes, that is our plan. And also, as the festival was going on, like in multiple workshops, these amazing writers were, because they all get the same question. How did you start writing? And many of them were like, I got jilted. And so I, picked up a pen and I killed so-and-so in my, I wrote and I killed them off or whatever. So another one of those like aha moments where we had what we called our control room. And because everything's virtual, but you need people to like manage the moving parts. And Savannah muted the mic and she was like, are y'all thinking what I'm thinking? And I was like, murder and mayhem for 2023.
I love it.
So, but actually we had already decided prior that, so 2023 is actually going to be sci-fi and fantasy. And we're going to be cheesy with it, Black to the Future. And we are so excited because we had a lot of guys show up for romance. And we thought, how can we speak to the males in our audience who also are like, okay, yeah, I like this romance thing, but here's where I'm really digging. And so we're excited about being able to bring some sci-fi fantasy stuff to the table, but we are doing Murder and Mayhem for 2024. So just so y'all know.
Nice.
So yeah, ask me all the questions.
Can we just start with how
sci-fi and fantasy so much?
Can we talk about how crazy it was? Would you say 2016 you were in a high school And last year you had Beverly Jenkins, for goodness sakes. Like,
Right.
I just can't believe how fast this moved for you guys. That's so exciting.
It's really like it's lightning in a bottle. What
Yeah.
we thought that we were just reaching out to Black audiences in Charleston, that we were pairing Black readers with local Black writers, because
Mhm.
Charleston has a rich arts culture and history. And, people think of music, they think of the opera, dance, all the things, but there's a rich writers community here as well.
Mhm.
And we know the struggle for minority writers and folks telling the story a bit broader than what we typically get to see and hear. And for me, my family, my mother was born and raised in Charleston. She is Gullah and Geechee. I have family from up along the coast. But as for her, when she was raising her kids, she, just was like, you guys can't talk like that, because she saw it as an impediment to our success in the community and in life. And now my daughter, who's 27, is the exact opposite. She's like, why didn't you guys like give me more history, more of my like history? And so as a writer, I have come to all Charleston is my place. And it became very evident for me, with a young female growing up in Charleston and the Tri-County area, that she understood. It was important to me that Tyler understood that her story was just as important as all the other stories that were being told, and that her
Mhm.
ancestors literally laid some of these bricks on these streets.
Yeah.
And that, as for me, Charleston was a place I couldn't wait to get away from. And when I got divorced and, had this kid to raise, it was absolutely the place I needed to come back to, because my supports were here. My roots were
Mhm.
here. And her roots are here. She's probably not going to come back here, but whatevs. I tried. I gave her the foundation. Um, but for me, coming back meant I had to find my place, and I had to make Charleston as much mine as it is everyone else's. And so
Mhm.
that's really what drew me to Black Ink, and what jazzes me about Black Ink, that we tell our story not instead of, but with, in conjunction with the other stories that are being told, and that ours are
Mhm.
just as fascinating, just as fun and funny, just as heartbreaking and traumatic. And that this, literally, we've got blood, sweat, we got blood equity, we got sweat equity in this land, in this city, and it's okay for us to share that with the world. And so that, as the chair of Black Ink, that is that's my energy. That's where I'm
Mhm.
coming from. Like, y'all need to get these stories because they're amazing. And we need to make sure that everybody has a chance, not just to tell their story, but for their stories to be discovered by others. And others is
Mhm.
everybody, not just Black folks. We want everybody to jump in. And I will say this, I have a lot of writer friends here. And I'm going to call out one particularly. Janet Lee Nye is a romance writer. She's a nurse by day, romance writer by evening, and white woman who, when she learned that Beverly Jenkins was coming, she like just flipped. Like, her level of esteem and respect. And that was the thing about getting Miss Jenkins, is she transcends, man. Like,
She
if
does.
you love romance, you know
You
her
love
name.
Beverly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know her
Oh,
name.
white woman who also freaked when I heard you had Beverly. I was like, what is this lady from Black Ink? Wait a minute. She's got Beverly Jenkins?
We got
I mean,
Beverly Jenkins.
she's phenomenal. I mean, if you were brought up reading romance, you read her books, whether you
Yeah.
realized who she was or not. right?
Yeah.
And that I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm the romance writer out of the group, so I would have fangirled really, really bad. I already am, and like, but no, I mean, I think it just says so much about what you guys are really doing there. I think every city has their own version of culture and arts and so forth. But I don't necessarily feel that writing is always included in the arts piece of it, like you said.
Say that.
Right?
Writing is
It's just not. And I
it
don't know
doesn't
why.
come to, I don't know why it, when people say arts in Charleston, painting, music, dance, like all the things, but they do not, theater, of course, but they
Right.
never, writing is not something that jumps to the top. And you're right. I don't think it's just unique to Charleston. And I do wonder why, because without words, like, you can't have your play if somebody doesn't write it.
Oh,
You can't have your music if someone doesn't write it. Like, I don't know. So, but that's just, that's Djuanna and her stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. I've also met a ton of writers who lean more towards the let me stand back out of the spotlight kind of people too, which makes me wonder if a lot of them prefer to write in the darkness and let someone else perform their work, right? When we think of screenplays and that sort of thing, it's, I don't know. Because I'm like this weird hybrid of a person where like literally my day job, I stand there and like present to people all day and talk nonstop. But then I like hide in my little cupboard to write my books. You know what I mean? And so, but I've not met a lot of people like that. I've not met a lot of people who want to get out there and shout from the, rooftops that, hey, I wrote this book and this is my creative piece of work for you to read. And I think it's just a different way we present ourselves as writers too.
Absolutely. It took a very long time for me to be able to call myself a writer. And there are times when I am still, I won't say uncomfortable with it, but it's like, do I get to say this about myself? And then I have to like be my own cheerleader and be like, hell yeah, you get to say this because this is what you do. Because, the world has taught us, or especially here in the US, that unless your book is traditionally published by the fancy, publishing houses, and God bless them, maybe one day I will have that you're not official. And I had a friend who flipped that on me. She was like, you've sold some books. I said, yeah. And she said, to people who don't know you. And I was like, yeah, some folks have found me online. And she was like, you do know that is considered professional writing, right? And I was like,
the
wait,
definition
what?
of it.
I mean, wait, not for me. And she was like, wait for it. Like, wait for it to sink in. And it did, like, and it still freaks me out. Like, there have been people who have paid me to read my words. And that's exactly the thing I've always wanted. So I'm living my dream.
Yeah.
So I know, I feel like I'm rambling. Sorry, y'all.
No,
How many
it's
books
perfect.
do you have out?
So I am weird. I prefer novellas. And I wrote 3 novellas in this thing called the Millennial Witch series, which is a thinly disguised love letter to my daughter and her magical abilities. And then I decided, oh, nobody really reads novellas, even though people had and did. And I compiled them into one book, which I'm actually kind of glad that I did, because now it's like a 435-page book versus 3, 130-page books. But I do have a second series called the Charleston Supernaturals, about 3 sisters. And one of the oldest sister, who is not necessarily the most responsible of the 3, gets them into this sticky wicket. And it's not the power of 3, even though at times I really wanted to do that. But they have to like get themselves and their sister out of this situation. And it's about magic going wonky, and also using your gifts responsibly. And because the oldest sister at one point didn't use her gift responsibly, they all had to pay for it. And so now I have this book that I released, and then I pulled back because I realized I wanted to shift it. So I wrote and released a novella about a daywalker who is a witch. She starts out as a witch. She gets bitten, becomes a daywalker. They can't duplicate it, so she's a one-off. And just the shenanigans that she's about to get into. But I realized I felt like when I released it to the world, I was like, oh, I'm good. Whatever. I'll shift some things in book 2. And then I was like, nah, I really needed to like take this back and do this well. So I'm in the process of doing that. And I also have an idea about 3 women, kind of like Witches of Eastwick, without the Jack, can't think of his last name, without the devil showing up and creating this powerful conversion for these 3 women. They'll have this conversion, and it's kind of like they just started out going to book club and some stuff happens. And then they have to figure out how to manage, their lives moving forward. So I have amazing ideas and just wish I had more time to sit down and actually write. So it's every writer's plight, unless you're a full-time writer, which I am not yet, but if I get my stuff together, I could potentially be soon.
I would say it's probably, even if you are a full-time writer, there will always be festivals to organize and nieces and grandchildren and whatever, right? Like there will always be a lot of things.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, I don't know. So Nikki, besides Beverly, what made you think, hey, let's check out this black ink thing?
What made me think about checking out this black ink thing? Winter had sent it to us, and I was like, what is that? Because otherwise, I'm in Florida, so it's kind of hard. Word of mouth is spread far for your festival, which is awesome. And that's why the fact that you're virtual now and will remain virtual, I think is like, that's the place where everyone needs to be now. I think if we've learned anything from COVID, we can duplicate a ton of what we do in person virtually, and it's just as valuable.
Legit. Like when I tell you, so last year we had over 300 registrants. This year we had over 400. And I don't even have the final count yet. We're still evaluating, the platform we have gave us a lot of data. And so I'm really excited to just do some deep diving into that in the next few weeks. But we had folks from literally all over the country. And we had folks from the UK. And I'm like, well, how'd y'all hear?
How'd you find me?
I don't even think we did any Facebook advertising. Our stuff was very local. But that's also very exciting that somebody thought enough of what we were doing to be like, hey, let me, either let me check this out or let me send this to somebody. And so, yeah, I did send it to Winter, and maybe I sent it to you as well, Rebecca. I can't remember because January seems like it was 6 months ago.
A really long time ago. It does.
So it's not just me.
Well, we posted it in the Crazy Writer Chicks group too, right?
Right.
That's right. When it was coming up, we did. We
had shared it with us, and then I don't remember.
Now you were in Vegas though, right? That's how we all found you, or they found you.
Yes.
How did I not meet you in Vegas? Is what I want to know.
I met Winter.
So many people.
Thank God for Winter's extroverted nature, because she literally
got us all.
She's back, so you have to talk nice.
Yes, welcome back. I was holding my cup of coffee and talking to, so I had met a young lady through 20 books to 50K, and they had a whole chart of like who's coming in and if they wanted to share a cab. And so Kendra and I met online, never met in real life, like just a couple days before the event, and was like, yeah, I'm staying at the conference hotel as well. My flight gets in, like they got in like 10 minutes apart, met by the baggage and rode to the hotel and became like conference buddies until her boyfriend came, which good for her.
Boyfriends ruin everything.
I had her for like 3 days, but
Still a little bitter about that.
you know.
But having the
boyfriend
girl
came.
power.
Yeah. So we're standing and fixing coffee, and Winter walks by and says, like, good morning or something. And I was like, good morning. And I am one of these extreme introverts that no one believes it. But because of my professional gigs for the last 100 years, I've learned to turn it on. But like when I go to conferences and stuff, I'm really that girl that's like, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Please don't. And Winter just was like, I'm not reading those signs. Like, where you from?
She bulldozes right past all of the stay away from me stuff.
She sits with us and we end up having like a full-on conversation. And so I see her intermittently over the week. And then she introduced, like the last day or so, she introduces me to Rebecca. So I don't know how, I know she mentioned you, and I'm not sure how I missed you. And so
I may have been hiding at that point. I don't know.
We were actually leaving like right around that time, and we were like, you were, I think, up in the room, or like it was
maybe
or out getting the car. Like
if
I remember right.
Yeah. So we were actually exiting.
That week was intense.
It felt like drinking from a fire hose, and it also though made me realize, like, girl, you're not taking your stuff seriously enough. Like,
me too.
You need to get your shit together. Like, I came back to Charleston and I was like, I got work to do. And here it is, end of Q1.
Hey, you chaired a festival.
I chaired a whole
with
festival
Beverly Jenkins. I think you've got an excuse. I don't.
Right.
But I mean, I felt the same way. In fact, we did a whole live when we got back from Vegas. I mean, I literally turned to Becca and Winter and I was like, I need to start treating this like a business. Like these people are serious. If I want to run in these crowds, like I need to turn it up. Yes. But the amount of people that we met through that conference was just, I mean, so many people. Even just unpublished authors, even that were just starting, that have just become so influential and friends and so forth over the last year. So listen to me. We were just there in November. It feels like forever.
Absolutely. So, and I'm going to shout her out. Kendra Moreno is the young lady that I met, and legit, I remember having pizza with her, and she is full-time single mom, and she's telling me her story and how she started writing and how she literally built her career and is making full-time money as a writer. And I was just like, baby girl, how old are you? Like, this young woman is like, if she's 30, she's early 30s. And I was just like, girl, do that. And I was like, you could be up here basically doing these workshops. So shout out to Kendra and like finding her niche and just, being like balls to the wall with it. Like, this is my mission. I've got to do this. Also, I enjoy doing it. And I think we had some really great conversations about like just enjoying what you're writing. And so for me, my niche is that Black magic, witchy Charleston witch space that I really want to live in. Because again, also, I don't know if y'all know, but hoodoo. So there's a difference between hoodoo and voodoo. Hoodoo, there's a large community here in Charleston that practice, not large, I mean large for Charleston, I guess, that still practices hoodoo. And it's root work. It's bound in natural remedies. Forget what you've heard or seen in the movies. There's like, it is the alternative medicines that if we were, living in another part of the world, no one would think twice about recommending an herb for a cough or what have you. And so hoodoo is, and root work is very much that. And it's been, Hollywood has done damage to magic in general, but I am one of these, like, I'm all about magic. I'm all about, like, I believe that in all of us, there is an element of magic. And is it tamped down, or is it something that can be brought up and called up and intuited? So don't even get me started, because y'all be like, girl, we don't have time.
So how much time do we have?
That.
No, Djuanna, I feel like you're like a long lost sister. I can't even. I'm like, all the things she's saying. Oh my goodness! But you're so right. I mean, what is magic, or for some people, is like science, like literally science before it became pharmaceuticals. So, I mean, I'm with you there. I get it. I've never heard of hoodoo though, but I'm in Florida and the islands are here. So voodoo, very, very common. It's its own world, its own culture. Again, nothing like you see on TV, but I've never even heard of hoodoo before. I didn't realize there was a difference.
There's very much a difference. And
Very
again,
cool.
I use the term root work, but lots of herbs, lots of roots, plants, just an amazing food, plant-based culture. But I tell you what, if you guys want to read, because, I'm never not recommending a book. And if you don't mind YA, I love YA. I think I stopped reading a lot of contemporary adult stuff years ago because I don't want to spend 10 pages talking about this tree. I can't. My attention span won't allow that. Give me some action, make it happen, make it juicy. And so read Legend Born by Tracy Dion.
I have seen that. Yep.
Then send me an email thanking me and telling me how much you love it. Also, you'll probably be cursing me in the same email because the sequel doesn't come out until November, but you're welcome.
Then I can't
America.
read it. I can't read it if it's not done.
So good. This woman takes the King Arthur legend and brings it to a real place in America. I think it's UNC campus, and ties the history of the South and the history of that college with this King Arthur legend and this amazing Black girl and her very diverse friends and her use of magic, and flips everything, like everything you think you know where this is going. And then those last couple of scenes, you're like, wait, what? And you're like, I hate her because I have to wait. So
And the next book isn't out. Ugh.
Comes out in November. It was supposed to be out in June, and probably
Oh,
because
I've got her
people
pulled
like
up now.
Yeah, so amazing.
Legend Born.
And the cover,
Awesome cover.
Boss.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So this is what I do. I talk about books. I talk about writing. I talk about Black ink. And it's funny. I had a conversation this weekend with an older woman here in Charleston, and she wanted to know how we did it, because this particular festival has money and really brought in some publishing heavy hitters, and yet they couldn't get as many folks. Not that they couldn't get folks, they didn't get the turnout that our small festival got virtually. And she just said, look, we need to learn from you guys. And I know how she found me, because I was like, I'm always like, wait, how you find me though? And but we have a mutual friend in common, and she had said, you need to talk to Djuanna. And I just, I couldn't tell her, there's no secret sauce. There's no, we just set out to highlight great books, great stories. And I think the difference is we also understood that there needed to be a pathway for writers for these stories, and that everyone doesn't come to the table with the same access, which we already know. But what could our role be to ensure that if someone wanted access to learn the tools or to get a connection? And I think that's why we're so hyped about mainstream publishers taking pitches at our festival. Like, nobody's heard of us. Y'all and like 400 other people. But, there's like, what, 300, I don't know how many millions of people here in the US. And so we got a long way to go for, to reach critical mass. But just there is joy in, I feel joy when I read a good book. I don't care who wrote it. There is joy in reading a good book.
Yeah.
And I wanted other people to understand that there's joy in, like, I grew up reading books where there was nobody in it that looked like me. No difficult names to pronounce, no curly hair, no leg, none of that. And still developed an amazing love for words and reading. And your kid's going to be better off for reading Legendborn or Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. Like, your kid's going to be entertained. Your kid's going to walk away not thinking, oh, what a great, that Black young man did a great job. They're going to be like, man, I want to be Tristan. Like, I want to find my own strength. I want to show up in the world whatever way I can. I want to bring my magic to this place, this time. And so that's what books do. And I am all about, like, making sure that folks just read as much as I love. Like, okay, yes, 5:00 on Friday, I will be in front of my television with my remote watching Netflix season 2 of Bridgerton, and will not stop until the season is over. Not gonna lie. However, by the time I come out of that television coma, I'm gonna want to read something.
Have you read the books?
I read the first one.
The books are good.
The first one, I was like, so okay, here's my issue with romance. And I'm starting to get to read more romance. I used to be very snobby when it came to romance. Just because I was like, there's so much else to read. Why would I spend time reading romance? And one of my best friends years ago, that's all she read. And she devoured them. Like, she could read a book a day. And I was like, you work full time, you got a kid, you got a husband. How the hell are you doing this? But
we don't sleep.
Man. Apparently, sleep for romance readers is not a thing.
We don't sleep. No.
It's necessary. And I would just, poo-poo her. And then I would say probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was tired of the same old. And, I can't think of her name. She caused a lot of controversy with, I guess, statements about minority romance and, oh God, The Wedding Date, Jasmine Guillory. And I read that and I was like, damn, that was cute. And it was fun. And I was like, maybe I need to rethink this romance thing. And then I started going hard in the paint. And then I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, Talia Hibbert. That's it. That was it. I was like, I'm dumb. Like, I have been missing out. And then I just started going back and just reading everything I could get my hands on. But I had, so backing up, L.A. Banks, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with her. She wrote the Vampire Huntress series, early 2000s. She was she passed shortly after Obama's first first term, and there's a reason that sticks in my head. I'll explain it another day. But she also piqued my interest with Black characters in the supernatural realm, because here was this vampire. She wasn't necessarily a witch, but her skill set was a gift handed down through the generations to hunt vampires. And she had amassed this group, her band, and they had witches, and they just had regular people with these like auditory skills and like just amazing skills. But the love of her life was made a vampire. And it's 12 books of romance with supernatural stuff happening. And I did used to tell people, I'll read romance if you wrap it in other things. And now I will just read romance to read romance. So I was going somewhere with that, but I've lost it. But just go read Vampire Huntress and thank me later.
Good stuff. I'm curious. Have you considered getting a booth at 20 books to 50K for your festival?
I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I'm going this year. Are y'all going?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
I was thinking I should go because I now know people that I can hang out with. And also, Kendra, if you're watching, hey,
You need to send this.
Come without your boyfriend this time.
Yeah, Mr. Hardworking man want to spend time with his woman in Vegas. I really ain't mad though, because my husband's like, nah, I'm not going to Vegas. You can have that. But yeah, I've been on the fence because I'm like, I feel like I'm not ready because I haven't been writing. I know it's stupid.
You got plenty of time.
But if you did the festival thing, like that's not even about writing.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
you should sign up for vendor day and give yourself a booth and talk all about the festival. You would gain a ton of people. And there's the BIPOC group that meets and all that. You could probably pull even more authors to speak. Girl, you got to come.
Okay. All right.
You'll be there.
I'm doing it. I'm going back to Vegas. Also, though, so that was my first time in Vegas. And I texted a couple of my girlfriends and I was like, I feel like I need to come back because I feel like there's a whole lot of foolishness that I need to get into that could because I can always say it will help my writing.
Lots of research trips. Yeah.
I mean, y'all, that whole just walking the strip, I was just like, huh. Okay, yes, I was not wrong. You do not need to be right. Don't go to Vegas messing around if you don't know what you're doing. Like it's my brother loves Vegas, and he was just like, I can't believe you went to Vegas and didn't do this, 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 and this. And I was like, first off, sir, I was very busy, like workshopping. And second, nah, bro, I don't know.
I'm not wandering around this town by myself.
No, too old for that. So he has threatened to also I probably don't want to do Vegas with my brother. And so just a quick TMI about Djuanna. So there are 5 of us, and I'm the oldest. There are 20 years between me and the youngest. And my youngest brother is the one who is like always trying to get me to be adventurous and do things. And we're the bookends. And so, we're the most responsible, but we also together could get into the most foolishness. So I was not that sister. Like the sisters in between, they were like, Emmanuel, you shouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so we doing this or what? And the older I get, the worse I get. So just FYI, if you've got a teenager or 20-something, do not send them my way. Don't bring them around you. Yeah, they'll be doing all the things you're like, you should know better. I should. But, you only live
just tell them you're living through your characters.
Absolutely. I've got to understand so I can write about it.
Right. All those things you didn't do when you were younger because you're being responsible,
which is so true. So I'm that, I tell my daughter all the time, if she decides to have kids, I'm not the grandma you want, because the kid's gonna have sugar and they're probably going to be able to curse like a sailor, and it's going to drive her crazy. And so she just
Well, at least
shakes her
she
head.
Daycares aren't a fan.
It's like, my mom spoiled her. It's the least I could do.
Listen,
Return
I
the
mean,
favor.
I've had this conversation with Becca before. I do not know the woman who raised me when I see her interact with my children, because I'm like, who are you? Like, who are you? And what did you do with the evil woman who would like beat me with a wooden spoon for talking back to you? Meanwhile, my kids are like smearing white frost or red frosting on our white chairs, and she's like, it's okay, I'll get it later. I'm like, what happened?
So
Something like there's a switch that flips when you become a grandmother and you just lose your mind. That's got to be what it is.
True story. My mother, coming up, when we would do our chores, she wanted lines in her carpet. And
did
you could,
mine.
and we had a very formal living room.
Living room that you weren't
So
allowed in.
we were not allowed in with white
Mhm.
furniture. So fancy that.
Mhm.
And if she saw footprints on her carpet, she wanted the place re-vacuumed. I remember my kid like being in her formal living room, running around, and I'm like, you better get out of there. And she's like, Granny lets me do this all the time. Say, what?
Right.
Who?
Yeah.
My mother? And my mom was like,
Mhm.
she's fine. She's just playing.
Exactly.
I didn't want-
Exactly.
And
Please.
I still tell her about those lines in the carpet. Like, I'm still annoyed at 55 about the
I
lines
think
in
they
the carpet.
understand the severity of the lines in the carpet. Like, I mean, there was plastic on the furniture. That was just in case you walked in the room and may have sneezed in the direction of the couch. You would stick to it if you were allowed to sit on it. My aunt to this day is still a lines in the carpet person, and my father will, every time he walks in her house, the first thing he does is walk all over her living room floor. And I'm like, what is the matter with you? You know she's going to be pissed. He's like, she hated it when we were kids. I don't know why she's doing it now. It ruins her living room floor every time. I'm like, hi.
Can I
It's just
share a
being
story
brought up
that's
that
an
way is very
idea for
different.
inspiration?
Yes.
So years ago, there was a house that we used to visit a lot, and the woman was this way. Every room in the house, the carpet stood up perfectly straight. And no one ever said anything about it, but I noticed because it was so unusual. And I would make dinosaur footprints with my hands in the carpet, like leading into the closet or under the bed and stuff, and then smooth the rest of it coming out so that it looked like a dinosaur. And I would do it every time we went there. And she'd always like, oh, she did it again. Like, she couldn't really get mad at me because I was just a guest, right? But like,
You're
anyway,
awful.
try it. It is hilarious. Hilarious.
I love that.
Dinosaur feet. Man.
You know, like the three toes, like giant chicken footprints, basically.
I mean, I get it. I think it's hilarious, but
takes time and creativity.
meanwhile, like however many
does.
generations later, I have like tumbleweeds of dog fur that go across my wood floors in my house. Like that's how often that I vacuum. Like I feel like I've gone like completely opposite of the terrified lines in the carpet. But
we have
Things
no
stick to my feet
carpet.
too
I
much.
was like, I can't. I'm not.
Not doing it.
Nah, give me a Swiffer, man. Let me go.
yeah, it's so much easier. It's crazy.
I got to bring it back around because do we know the dates for the next festival?
We do.
Yeah, it's on their
actually.
website.
Wait, did we?
I think I still have it pulled up.
Did we already update our website? My gosh, y'all!
You
Like
did.
legit.
Save the date, January
Yeah.
12th through the 14th.
I was about to say the
Nice.
12th
Because I
through the
pulled it up
14th.
before we started. Because I was going to put the link in our stream and I never did. Hold on. Let me do that real quick.
Now's the
It's the whole purpose
opportunity.
of me bringing it up. I know.
So legit, just to tell you guys, like I've already told you, we're doing sci-fi, Black to the Future. I would love to drop the names of the people we're courting, but Savannah would probably punch me in the throat when she sees me. So
Okay.
can't do
We'll wait.
that.
We
But
will wait.
let's just say
I'm going to be there. Just so you know.
y'all have heard of. So let me tell you a little bit about our process. we will toss out as a committee like 5 names. And we have the one we really want to get. And then we rank if that person says no or is unavailable, blah, blah, blah. We are tied for the top 2. And we can't go wrong with either. Like, oh, it is paining me not to tell y'all.
It's okay. We'll call you after.
Yes.
When we stop the recording.
Yes. Like, I have to make, because I need to make sure it's not a hot mic, because like I can literally see Savannah giving me this look right now, like,
you would get in tons of trouble.
seriously, girl, how can you're the freaking chair and you can't like just hold it.
It's very exciting though.
But
prerogative.
If your queen is pitching,
you're the worst influences.
They are coming back. The editors, like, we got commitments from some of the editors the day, like, as they were wrapping up pitches, they were like, so do we get to do this again next year? And we were like, wow, you're serious? So like, they're coming back. They're coming back.
That is cool.
And we are also planning, we have some ideas for doing like year-long virtual events. So having conversations with folks, we're bringing on like 3 new board members, 2 of whom are writers. One, oh my gosh, you guys have probably heard of, but again, don't want to spill the beans till I like tie her to the chair. And I will say this publicly though, Vanessa Miller, she wrote Island Queen.
Okay.
So she did a workshop for us. And afterwards I was like, so how about, she was like, y'all work too hard. But also I did tell her that I was going to keep coming after her. So hello.
In case you're seeing this.
Just in case.
This is another attempt to sway you.
So, and if you guys also, we meet our board meets virtually as well, because again, we want folks to be safe. 95% of us are in Charleston. But we also understand that we need to be able to work at the speed of technology. So if nothing else, COVID taught us how to do that as a festival. And I think one of the reasons we have been able to grow and become so effective is because we were small and could pivot on a dime. Mm-hmm. And there weren't a lot of hoops we had to jump through to get it done.
Right.
And so there's something to continuing to be a small festival with big reach. And eventually we are right now a Charleston African American Book Festival. We would love to become a South Carolina African American Book Festival and a Southeast African American Book Festival. And maybe, I don't know, somebody else though, probably not me, a national African American Book Festival. So that's my push as the chair. And also support us by coming to our events. And I'm telling you, you're going to see all kinds of people there, not just Djuanna. And typically I'm behind the scenes and not running my mouth unless they make me moderate. So sometimes they do that. So absolutely check us out. And, if you are interested in helping us do this thing, like reach out. You can email me at info@blackinkcharleston.org. And I talk to any and everybody that is interested in this festival, because it is a passion project of mine. And I can see myself in 20 years still, they'll be like, Djuanna, we got this. Like, oh no, but let me tell the folks. And they'll be like, go sit down, old lady, we got this. So because I love story in all formats. And it's also why I love television. Like I am a TV and movie buff, because good writing is good writing. Crappy writing is also crappy writing, but you can learn a lot from that. And stories and everything. I work in nonprofits. in development. Do you know what I do all day? Tell the story of my organization. Like, everything is a story, and getting people to understand that, like, even the things we tell ourselves. So, fun fact, I have a master's in counseling. Also, fun fact, I hate counseling. But in terms of doing it, I probably need to go, but that's another story. Um, it's late, y'all.
With you there. I'm with you
I think we
there.
probably all need to go.
I talk about it at least twice a week.
But
I know.
we tell ourselves stories about our lives, about our existence and our experiences. And so that we're writing our own books for ourselves. So when I used to counsel, I would sometimes have folks just write a new story. And they'd be like, "What? Write a new story. Like, put the ending you wish you had. Put the the road, the path you wish you were on." And then it starts to unlock something in them, because then you realize, oh wait, I can create some of this for myself. So that's all story is for me. And also, like, that's the joy of it. It's just, okay, I don't like this path. So you know what? I'm gonna go over here and create a new story. And that's what we do. And if I'm not liking, like, my reality right now, I'm gonna grab this book and read somebody else's story. And I'm gonna live in that for a minute and find my peace. So thank you guys for, like, letting me come on here and, like, disrupt your show.
No way. It's been awesome.
It really has. And the beauty of books, man, disappearing into someone else's world, right?
Oh my God, it's joy. Like, when Oprah used to, okay, last thing, for real. When Oprah used to talk about joy rising, I kind of didn't get it. I mean, I got it on an intellectual level. And then, this is so stupid, but, like, this brought it home for me. I went to Disney, my husband and I, like, so when your kid grows up, you get to, like, do stuff again, but, like, without the screaming. And so we went to Disney, and I don't know, it was like 2017, and they had the March of the Order. Is that what it's called? The Star Wars.
Oh,
Where
yeah,
the stormtroopers,
yeah.
the music starts, and I had just barreled my way to the front of the line, and sorry, kid, your mom didn't, like, curse me out, so we're good. And I've got my phone going, and I'm so excited that my hands start shaking. And my husband takes the phone, and he, like, keeps videoing for me, because literally I felt joy, like, unmitigated joy rising up from the soles of my feet to the top of my head, as these stormtroopers are, like, and they're bad, as they are marching and the music's playing, because it's like, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is one of my favorite things, and it's happening, and I'm right here. And later, watching that video that night, like, I was like, I felt the same, like, almost the same feeling. And then it hit me. I was like, damn, like, you were like kid, like, joyful. Like, when a kid gets the gift they wanted and they start crying because they don't know what to do with all these feelings. I was shaking because my body didn't know what to do with all this joy. And in that moment, I remember, as I'm watching the video, I was like, ooh, you always need to be seeking that. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. But I often find that feeling or something like it when I read a good book. So find your joy, people.
Find your joy. Djuanna, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. I swear this was awesome. These are always awesome. I'm always dragging my butt getting to this going, oh, I gotta go live tonight. And then we have these amazing conversations with people like you. And I'm like, I need to do so much more with my life. But
y'all are awesome.
Inspiring,
and thank
for sure.
you for welcoming me into your space. I really appreciate
that. Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to Black Ink 2023 and to figure out who all these people are. Oh, and
seeing you in
I don't
Vegas.
even know, did you mention that the 2022 stuff is on their YouTube page? So yes. you can catch Beverly's keynote if you want to. Just throwing it out there.
Just do it, y'all. Like, Beverly talks about the history of, like, I'm telling you, Beverly takes us to school and entertains us at the same time. Like, I was just like, thank God my mic is off and I was off camera, because it was like my version of church, another version of joy for me. Like, she just was bringing it home and I was just like, oh my God, it's the joy you didn't know you needed. So you're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you again, Miss Brockington. It has been phenomenal. And we will see you in Vegas, because I know you're coming out, right? If nothing else, to rep the festival.
Yes, I'm going to do it.
All right, you guys. We will see you back in a couple weeks, I think. Is that when our next one is? Becca's usually has our schedule.
Tuesday, April 5th.
2 weeks, I think, right?
9 p.m.
So we'll see you guys back then with another fabulous guest. Otherwise, have a great week. Bye, ladies.
Thanks again.